Hello, my name is Alejandro Salinas, and this is my project for the sorting station out in the mech lab. So today, I'm recording based on what I have. I'm recording based on the project that was assigned for me to do on and programming automation controls challenge 2. The idea of this system is to be able to develop a program that will allow uh, three separate boxes, black, pink, and metal, to be read and continue march onto two separate conveyors. The first conveyor will be my first module of operations, and my second conveyor will be uh, my second module of operations. The ideal of my first module is to be able to get it to start. Uh, Initially, when I first looked at the system, I noticed that there was a color sensor and a VS2 sensor that will initiate and trigger the system to be activated. As you may notice in my first program, in my first network that I had developed, an SR function system start that would help allow to cue when to activate the conveyors and when not to activate. The only way this thing will not work is if the e-stop is activated, or there's a malfunction between the two conveyors and the start button. Other than that, the system will start if the start button is activated and entry and exit conveyors are activated. As you notice here to the right, I have created 4 separate branches of operations for each box. Now I noticed 3 boxes, but I also created one for defective boxes. It's also connected to a CTU to maintain accountability. And then after that, yes, they are still important, but not as important as my first network. But I just created a network for each secondary operating cues to help me visualize if something's not working, where is the malfunction at and why. So I created one for the start button. I created one for the stop button, the emergency stop, and obviously counter reset, just in case for some reason I have resetted the program itself. But yeah, like I said, these 3 right here are really more typically for self-awareness. But yeah, and then after that, I created timers for each box as they come through, and they are being identified by the color sensor. It will then trigger each timer, which will then be synced to the 3 separate actuators that are in place on the second conveyor. I got them separated by 1 second. Being first actuator is assigned to the metal box, second actuator is assigned to the black box, and third is to the pink. And I have the metal timer set at 5, black timer set at 6, and pink set at 7. That being said, the way the flow of operation will work is that the first box will come onto the first conveyor, triggering the VS2 sensor. As it comes and triggers the VS2 sensor, it will then reach the IR light or proximity light for the color sensor to capture its image and being able to send the information throughout the system. And then it will continue march all the way to reach to the end of the first conveyor, which then there is a actuator to assist with the pushing the box down a roller conveyor onto the second conveyor, and the process will just continue march. And once it reaches its actuator, once it hits the second conveyor, it's going to give a delay onto the first conveyor to allow that box to actually reach its designated location and get pushed down its chute that I have imagined that should be there. And once it clears that, there will be a sensor that will trigger that the box is cleared of the second conveyor, and then reactivate the first conveyor to continue marching, so on, and the system will just keep going round and round, and and it'll keep going. And like I said, this system has multiple sensors. One of the main things that I took notice is that the solenoids are dual acting solenoids, meaning they have a process for extension and a process for retraction. So I had to implement something to help allow the system to understand that it is a dual acting solenoid, and they have its own process of operations. And in order for me to do that, I had to place rising triggers and falling triggers to simplify rising being extension and falling being retraction. So yes, I implement those into my program along with timers. But there's really not much to this. And FYI, just to let you know that I have not been able to actually put this in works and see if it actually worked. But I do have confidence that I have achieved most of what needs to be done to get the system at least going. And then if that was my main goal, is to be able to get it at least going, and I could just make minor modifications to actually reach the end goal of what I'm trying to achieve. This system does have a global variable list, which I created based on my initial assessment of the system, and I placed those right here in the global variable list. The system will be operated with ZipLink, that is attached to the CodeSys software where I did create my program onto. And then based on my development plan, even though I have stated exactly what my goal was, but I'll just go over it real quick. If you look right here to the right, it is my workflow of operations, and then my interpretation of what is required for this system to be achievable and operatable. And I just wrote down my order of operations. I put my objective, my task, and my method. And then obviously this is my workflow. I used an FSC chart to write what I'm picturing in my head. But anyways, like I said, that's pretty much my project and my assumption of how this system can be achievable and operatable. I hope that I was able to explain what I am intending to do and interpretate how I seen what is required. But if for some reason you're still having a hard understanding of what I'm trying to get at, please don't hesitate. Just ask me, and that way I could try to explain it better in person. Thank you for your time.